welcome in everyone to RedRaiders.com. I'm Zach Long with Don Williams and Krista Pirtle from Lawrence, Kansas. We call this show the Road Rage, aptly named because we had a long, cranky drive from Lubbock, Texas. And Don, we've finally arrived in Lawrence, and the weather conditions a little different than what Tech fans are probably used to dealing with down in Lubbock.
That's right. If you're coming to the game, you might bring a jacket because high temperatures tomorrow are supposed to be high 50s, low 60s, so that means it's definitely not going to be that warm come kickoff time at 11 a.m. Saturday.
Krista definitely has the feeling of fall on the KU campus.
It does, and it looks beautiful. There's trees everywhere starting to change, and it's really going to be a great atmosphere here. It's homecoming for KU, so we'll see how rowdy they get tomorrow morning.
And the problem with that being it is tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. That could limit some of the crowd intensity early, but could give some opportunities to Texas Tech to get started well. But first off, with the Road Rage, we want to look at the Kansas Jayhawks and their most dangerous weapon. Don, what stands out to you for the Kansas Jayhawks?
I'll say most dangerous weapon for the Kansas Jayhawks, Tony Pearson. Here's a guy who is unlike most KU players in that he was actually a very high-profile recruit, a guy who could have gone to a lot of different schools. He's a St. Louis kid who decided to come to KU. Last year at Jones AT&T Stadium, you saw him rush for 202 yards. They made great use out of him in that speed option. And then this season, he's the team's leading receiver, 15 catches, 209 yards. A lot of coaches talk about getting their best players the ball in a lot of different ways. The Jayhawks do get Tony Pearson the ball in different ways.
And Pearson had a better game in Lubbock than Sims even last year, so someone they're definitely going to keep an eye on. Krista, what concerns you about Kansas?
I'm going on the defensive side. Ben Heaney, he leads the Big 12 Conference in tackles, averaging 10.7 a game. He's going to play a big role for Kansas, and especially with Texas Tech. These freshman quarterbacks haven't had a Big 12 Conference road game yet, so it's going to be interesting to see how they manage it, and it's going to be key for the KU defense to see how they can shake them up.
So definitely some concerning things about Kansas. You got to be careful on the road. You can lose any week, irregardless of the opponent. Now, we promised you on the UMC Health System AJ Media pregame show a Don's Dining tip from Lawrence, and we're not going to disappoint you. We took Don out last night in Lawrence, which is always a dangerous endeavor because you will get in trouble. It'll only take a few minutes, but you were actually pretty tame last night.
Well, Zach, as you know, thankfully we got here on a Thursday, so we were able to quietly slip into a Steak and Shake, which I know was my first time in a Steak and Shake, and Krista's too, I believe.
But he didn't disappoint us once we got inside that Steak and Shake.
And Zach, you know, if you come to Steak and Shake and you can't make up your mind between the double cheeseburger or the chili,
right?
It's okay to go for the double cheeseburger and the chili.
Your stomach is a garbage disposal. So there you have it. Once again, Don Williams never disappointing us when we put him in a diner setting here on the Road Rage with Don's Dining Tips. Guys, let's move on to something a little more serious here and look at this game tomorrow in Lawrence between Texas Tech and Kansas. We'll go through some scenarios here for you. We'll start first with how could Kansas win this football game? Krista, I'll start with you.
I'm going to say they do exactly what they did last year, control the clock by running the ball. They had 390 rush yards against Texas Tech last year with Tony Pearson and Sims. They have what it takes to do it again this year. It's going to be a battle of the trenches, though, and we'll see if KU can win that battle.
For me, I think the run game is important, but if KU is going to win tomorrow, it's going to be because of Jake Heaps. He's going to have to throw the football. Texas Tech defense is much better. They've been too focused on that 390-yard mark all week. Heaps will have to throw the ball for Kansas to win. What do you think would have to happen for the Hawks to win this game?
Well, I think for Kansas to win this game, you play with great effort because when Texas Tech comes in here, okay, you're tempted to look past Kansas because you're undefeated. You're a 17-point favorite. You're on the road. The game starts at 11 o'clock in the morning. And so if you're Kansas and if you're Kansas coaching staff, I would tell their guys, hey, come out here with great intensity, play your butts off in the first half, and make things happen, get the crowd into the game. And you could catch a Texas Tech team that thinks it's going to roll in here, simply throw its helmets out there on the field and walk away with the victory. And you know, it's a Big 12 Conference road game. That doesn't happen easily, no matter where you're playing.
And much like 2 years ago, you'll be down 20-0. They did come back and win that game, but that's not something you're going to dig out of every single week.
Zach, I've been here 4 times to cover Tech Kansas games in Lawrence. 3 times the Jayhawks have given Tech everything that they could handle, even though Tech has come up here expected to win. there's only one time that's happened easily, and that was the great 2008 team.
Right. And now onward to Texas Tech. If they win this football game, Krista, what's going to be the key factor?
It's going to be because they get out to a hot start. Tech has never been behind in a game, and Kansas also hasn't even scored in the first quarter, a touchdown or a field goal, nothing. So if Texas Tech can get on the board first and keep going, it's going to be hard for Kansas to keep up with them.
And I'm going to build off of that and say it's Baker Mayfield who has to get off to a key start, come off of being banged up a little bit, show that he is good to go, and if he gets confidence going early, I think Texas Tech's going to be more than okay in this game. Don?
I think for Texas Tech to win, you need another good effort out of your defense. We saw the reason why Kansas was able to take Tech down to the wire last year in Lubbock was because what the Jayhawks did offensively. Tech feels it's better defensively this year than it's perhaps been in a few seasons. They've gotten very good play out of the defensive front seven, and guys like Kerry Hyder, Terrence Bullitt, Dartwan Bush, they have to set a tone in this game on Saturday. For the Red Raiders to take care of business and win as easily as they're favored to do.
And either way, it's going to be a very festive, fall-like environment here in Kansas for the Texas Tech fans that come up here. Beautiful atmosphere, should be a great weather day. Hopefully the Red Raiders continue that momentum and give the fans who come up here their money's worth for making that trip. But for right now, that's going to do it for this episode of The Road Rage. Be sure and go to LubbockOnline.com and RedRaiders.com for all of our coverage of Texas Tech and Kansas. We also got Don versus Twitter. We got Texas Tech football topics with Krista Pirtle. And of course, if you haven't watched it yet, please take time to watch the UMC Health System AJ Media pregame show, where you will find out that the Kansas Jayhawk is real. Until that time, though, we'll see you tomorrow after the game here on RedRaiders.com.